I need my stimulus check, yeah. I need my stimulus check, yeah. I need my stimulus check, yeah. What? I need my stimulus check, yeah.
Okay.
I need my stimulus check, yeah.
We are back with another episode. Thank you for joining us for yet another week of the show. It means a lot that y'all listen. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to tell a friend to tell a friend. It's a good episode. We have a lot of topics to get through. It's been a crazy week. Dante is here as well. How are you, Dante?
I'm doing good. It's staying lighter out longer. Daylight savings time. So the sunshine a little brighter. You know, we're all getting that vitamin D that we've been deprived of. So I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for this episode because there's a lot of stories that are interesting to talk about. You're going to give some interesting takes on the topics that we'll cover on this episode. So I'm excited for that. But yes, I do prefer this kind of daylight savings versus the other one. I like when it stays lighter longer. I don't like whenever you come home and it's like 5 and it's already like dark. I hate it because it makes the days seem shorter. But now that there's more light, I feel like my days are longer. I think that's the point. Like daylight savings is kind of confusing, but this is the one that I prefer.
I mean, I think it's an analogy for where we are in the world right now, right? Like there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Brightness is coming, I guess. I don't know. I like to make analogies. Positive vibes only on this podcast, guys. Unless we're reading somebody for warranted reasons.
The king of analogies is Sir Dante over there. But yeah, if you guys are new to this show is all about bringing together different perspectives. Dante and I agree, we disagree, but most importantly, we come together to give our opinions about our lives as young black men, about politics, about entertainment, about pop culture, about music, anything and everything. So if there's a reason why you listen to the show, continue to listen to it. I appreciate the support. Be sure to follow on Spotify. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Wherever you choose to listen, make sure you're telling your friends and your meemaws and your peepaws, everybody, because this show I feel like is underrated. More on that in a second.
Hold on. You forgot the pawpaws. Y'all tell y'all pawpaws about it.
Tell all of them because they love the show. Tell our secret fans to listen or continue to listen because I know they love the show too. You know, we got to shout out to the secret fans too, right?
It's nothing but love, baby. We appreciate. I don't even know what the word is for it. Like you're supporting, but like you're preying on the downfall, but at least you're paying attention. So that's cool too.
I always say, I don't have haters, but I always say that if your haters love what you do, you must be doing something right. So if anybody hates Dante out there and...
Wait, hold on. What if they hate you? Why is it gotta be just me?
Because I'm nice. I'm nice in real life. For those of y'all that don't know me in real life, I'm nice. I don't make enemies, so I don't really have haters in real life. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, all the haters out there that hate this show and hate me. It's awkward for me to say that because I don't know of anybody that hates me or doesn't like me in real life. So I know that there's people out there that probably don't like Dante and hate him. So if you guys hate him, like... I don't know.
I'm sure every time we talk about these secret listeners, I assume that there's more secret listeners of you than of me. But that's the first point. The second point is I don't have enemies because that has to be a two-way street. That means I have to equally dislike you. And if you dislike me, 99.9% chance I don't give a about you. So it's a unrequited love, I guess. I don't know.
I guess. What can you do? You just keep grinding, and when you get to where you're going, your haters will still be mad. So
there are going to be people along the way who will try to undercut your success or take credit for your accomplishments or your fame. But if you just focus on the work and you don't let those people sidetrack you, someday when you get where you're going, you'll look around and you will know that it was you and the people who love you who put you there. And that will be the greatest feeling in the world.
You can do everything right and still have people dislike you, and that's okay. That's life. I'm never pressed about it because I just do me. I try to put positive energy out there, and I try and inject that into the show as well. So if you guys love it, thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving Dante. And we're going to continue to crank these episodes out for you guys. So before we get to Off My Chest, I have to give one of our listeners a shout out. Shout out to Ethan. So Ethan, friend of the show, sent me a pair of Burberry glasses. I was like, wow. So he sent it as a token of appreciation for the show. And I was shook. I was like, wow, man, I have an effect on people where they want to send me gifts. So if you guys want to send me stuff, I'm going to set up a P.O. box where y'all can send me stuff and y'all don't have to know where I live.
Yo, this guy is wild.
People are crazy. I'm being serious. People are crazy out there. So I'm going to set up a P.O. box. Y'all can send me stuff, fan mail, fan art, whatever it is that y'all want to send me. I appreciate it. But I had to give Ethan a shout out because I appreciate that. Yeah, that's the goal of the show. People that connect to you so much that they want to send you stuff and have you looking nice. So I will make sure my prescription is in these Burberry frames and I'll be rocking them for you guys. Anything that you needed to add, Dante, before we get into Off My Chest?
No. You make me out to be the problematic one. Like people
you
dislike
are.
me. To know me is to love me. Okay, guys, let's get that straight. To know me is to love me.
Don't get offended, Dante. Because I was going to say that Dante one day called me the negative one, and I took issue with that, and I still take issue with that because I'm not negative. You're negative.
Maybe neither one of us are negative. Why does it have to be one or the other? I always come on here and
You tell me.
big people up to be positive. This guy. I already see what type of episode this is going to be.
Buckle in. But let's get into Off My Chest.
Justin's gotta give. It's off his chest. Dante has got to give. It's off his chest. Justin and Dante gotta get it off their chest.
All right. Thank you, Julia. So this week in Off My Chest, like I teased beforehand, I'm tired. I'm tired of being underrated. For the amount of work that we put into this show, I feel like, Dante, we should be much bigger than where we are. You know, I feel like by this point, we should have our own show. You know, success doesn't come overnight. And I feel like we've been grinding. We've been grinding hard. And I feel like this show is underrated. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all.
I mean, you know, we get to see y'all for free 99 every week. And it's fire. It's fire.
No, I really do believe that. And I'm not just saying that because it's my show. Like, I don't care. Like, I really do believe objectively that this show is decent. Y'all know that I'm very self-deprecating about anything that I do. So I'm never going to be the one to be like, oh yeah, this is the best. This is the best. But I feel like this show is underrated. And this year, my goal is for us to become overrated, honestly. That's my goal this year, to grow even further, to get better. And you never know what will come your way when you continue to grind and stay consistent. So as long as we do that, you know, the road to success and riches with Spotify might come later down the road, but if we can keep at it, who knows what could happen. So that's what I needed to get off my chest, because right now the grind is hard and I hate being underrated. But one day, if I can keep an open mind, who knows where we'll be.
Amen to that. You got it off your chest for both of us. I'm good.
So, I guess since we're both good for Off My Chest, do we want to talk about the Grammys that happened last night?
Ladies and gentlemen, you have tickets to the hottest show on the planet. This is the Grammys.
With performances by Bad Bunny, BTS, Billie Eilish, Black Pumas, Brandy Carlisle, Brittany Howard, Cardi B, Chris Martin, DaBaby, Doja Cat, Dua Lipa, Hyam, Harry Styles, John Mayer, the one and only Grammys. Hosted by Trevor Noah. Live Sunday, March 14th, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific.
And the Grammy goes to...
That was cute. Everybody saw Billie Eilish perform.
Oh, the stands are going to come out of the corner. Be careful.
Bring it.
Okay.
I ain't the one.
But yes, the Grammys were last night at the time of this recording, and the Grammys are always problematic in some way because they never seem to get it right. Out of the Oscars, out of all the different award bodies, The Grammys seem to be the ones that are lagging behind all the other ones when it comes to diversity, when it comes to getting the actual awards right, whether that's the nominations and whether that's the people that actually end up with the awards. People are never happy at the end of the day. You know, there were some surprises. I was surprised to see Megan Thee Stallion, win for Best New Artist. That award is kind of a curse in a way because sometimes the people that win that award go on to have long lasting careers, and sometimes winning Best New Artist is the peak of somebody's career. See Meghan Trainor. But you never
Tracy
know.
Chapman.
So what'd you say?
Tracy Chapman is another one.
Tracy
Best New
Chapman?
Artist. Yep.
Esperanza Spalding, where is she? So you never know. It's a mixed bag. You could go on to have a long career, or you can be relegated to just the Best New Artist win. So shout out to her for winning. I'm surprised that they gave it to her because Doja Cat was also competing in that category. Some heavy hitters in there. But she had a great night. I think she picked up 3 awards. Her and Beyonce won Best Rap Song for the Savage remix.
And the Grammy for Best Rap Song, Savage, Megan Thee Stallion, featuring Beyonce.
It was a great showing for Megan Thee Stallion, so I'm happy for her and her fans. It was great. What else happened? We had Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, speaking of them, perform WAP on CBS on the Grammys. I was surprised that they even let them perform that.
Beautiful moment in Black history. That's all I got to say about that. That was beautiful. Loved every second of it.
We had Taylor Swift, give a great performance.
Yes.
And she ended up winning Album of the Year for Folklore. Anyway.
Nope.
Anyway.
Taylor Swift's win is she ties the record for 3 Album of the Year awards. So we need to give her her flowers while she's alive. Just like the Beyonce thing. She now has the most Grammy wins of anybody of all time.
And the Grammy goes to?
Oh. Okay, wait a minute. History has just been made. Breaking the all-time record for the most Grammy wins ever by any female artist or any singer, male or female, the Grammy goes to Beyonce!
You know what? If you asked me to sum up my thoughts on the Grammys last night, it was a night for the queens. Beyonce taking her throne. Most wins all time for an artist at the Grammys, male or female. Taylor Swift tying a record, 3 Album of the Year awards. And Megan Thee Stallion ascending to her throne as the new queen on the block. It was a night for the queens last night.
It's interesting that Beyonce and Jay-Z didn't show up until the last 30 minutes of the show. I think it's because they understand that the Grammys are BS. They always like to award black artists in their respective categories of R&B and hip hop. But when it comes to giving these artists, awards in the general field like Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Album of the Year, they seem to not want to award the rightful winner of those awards. And I'm glad that they came in late. And also, it made some news that Beyonce declined performing for the Grammys. She said that I'll attend, but I won't be performing. I think that she made the right decision, honestly, because what they do every single year, they get all these, hot black artists to come in and perform. And then when it comes to awarding them for their work, they don't want to award them. So I think that by not performing, Beyonce was in a way doing a silent protest and saying, I'm not going to allow you to use me as a pawn for ratings. I'm going to attend the show and then I'm going to take home the awards that you give me and call it a night. That's the end of it. And I appreciate her for making that decision because when it comes to the big awards, Beyonce didn't go home with the big awards. Record of the Year went to Billie Eilish for that song. I don't know what it was called, but I don't think that was the record of the year. And even Billie thought that wasn't the record of the year because it's almost embarrassing whenever an artist that doesn't deserve it ends up winning. It's embarrassing for them because they didn't ask to be put in that position. And then Billie Eilish, you saw her apologizing for winning.
This is really embarrassing for me. Megan, girl, I was gonna write a speech about how you deserve this. But then I was like, there's no way they're going to choose me. I was like, it's hers. You deserve this. You had a year that I think is untoppable. You are a queen. I want to cry thinking about how much I love you. You're so beautiful. You're so talented. You deserve everything in the world. I think about you constantly. I root for you always.
It was almost reminiscent to what we saw from Adele a few years ago when she apologized for beating Beyonce for Album of the Year. People in the room acknowledged what was the record of the year, and to me, the record of the year was Savage featuring Beyonce, but that's just me.
Hey, so it's interesting that you said that. I didn't know she declined to perform because I thought it was weird. I'm like, hey, she's there. Why isn't she just doing Savage with Meg? You know? But now that you explain that, it makes sense. And then I don't know if he did it at the time he accepted the award, but I know that he posted like the text message between them that Macklemore apologized to Kendrick for winning that one year too for Rap Album of the Year.
Yeah. So the year that Macklemore won Best Rap Album over Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City, he accepted the award on the Grammy stage. And then later on, like Dante said, he texted Kendrick Lamar and said, hey man, you should have won the award. You deserve this. You really had the best rap album. And then he posted that on Instagram. So he even acknowledged that he wasn't the rightful winner of that category. And I think year after year, the Grammys are continuing to lose relevancy. Younger people really aren't watching the Grammys like that because they get it wrong every year. And they're just a traditional award show that don't like to make changes. And as long as they continue to be like that, you're going to see more and more artists continue to not show up. You know, I thought it was interesting because we're in a pandemic and they try to adjust the whole ceremony to fit in within the parameters of the pandemic. So you saw a more intimate setting. There was an outdoor venue where people were sitting down with their mask on. And then there was another stage where the artists were set up to perform. So I think given the circumstances, the producers did the best that they could. And I think hosting the Grammys is also a difficult task because hosting any gig, you're going to have your fair share of critics. So anybody that accepted the job, I knew it would be under some scrutiny. So the host of this year's ceremony was Trevor Noah. I'm not the biggest fan of Trevor Noah. I think that he's funny. By the way, this is random, but he also has a book. If you guys want to get into reading, it's called Born a Crime. So it kind of details how his whole existence is basically a crime because he's from South Africa and, you know, having mixed babies was illegal at the time that he was born. So it kind of details how he, you know, struggled growing up, etc. So if you want to get into that, read that. But Trevor Noah, I don't know, he's not my favorite, but I mean, he did the best that he could. I think that that's a hard job to ask of anybody, and he did the best that he could. It was all right. I think it was better than some years, but it's the Grammys. What do you expect?
I like Trevor Noah. Like, aside from hosting the Grammys, I like Trevor Noah. I enjoy him. I thought he did a fine job. What I thought was cool, how you talked about it being the way it was produced, I thought it was cool that when one artist was performing, they had other artists sitting there waiting to perform and they were watching them. I thought that was really cool. I like that. I hope that's something they could keep moving forward. You know, I think that's a really cool concept. You know, it's like, hey, here's your competition and your contemporaries performing. You're up next. This is what you got to, you know, go against. I think that's really cool.
It's almost like a battle of the bands in a way. I like that too.
Yeah, sort of like that. A couple of people that stuck out to me, Mickey Guyton, you know, we didn't name an episode after her song, but it just fit with the tone of the episode. She performed Black Like Me, a black female country singer. Think she did a great job. Brittany Howard from Alabama Shakes. I mean, anytime that girl sings, like, paint can come off a wall. Like, she's spectacular. Those two definitely stuck out to me in terms of like really good performances, as well as Megan and Cardi, but that goes without saying. Justin, do you want to talk about performances you didn't like?
I didn't really care for the country segment. Obviously, country is not a genre that I really gravitate with, so that was the time that I went and took a shower. No disrespect, of course. I just like to use my time wisely.
The king of shade.
Well, a couple days before the Grammys, this will probably be the last thing dealing with the Grammys that we'll talk about. We saw The Weeknd announce that he will no longer submit his music to the Grammys in the future, and that from now on, he's going to boycott the Grammys entirely. He said he's going to ask his label to not submit any of his music. And at this point, I'm just tired of The Weeknd and him ranting against the Grammys. It's getting annoying at this point. I understand that he had one of the biggest albums and singles of the year, but it's getting really tiring him ranting against the Grammys. The thing is, whenever The Weeknd was snubbed for Record and Song of the Year for Blinding Lights, which I consider a snub because that was one of the biggest singles of 2020.
It stayed on the charts in the top 10 for 52 for a straight year, and it's the only song that's ever done that. So he has a legitimate gripe there. That was a snub, like you said.
And it's still on the top 10 right now. Like the new Billboard charts came out today, and I think it's like number 7 on the charts still to this day. So it shows that audiences are really gravitating towards that song. And I think that when it comes to record and song of the year, it's songs that not only impacted the charts, but impacted the hearts of the people listening. And if it's still in the top 10 for this long, it's resonating with people. And I think that that's something that should be rewarded in some way. And that's why I agree that it was a snub that he wasn't nominated. But, stop complaining. My issue with The Weeknd is that he knew that the Grammys were corrupt when he was submitting his work, but yet he continued to submit it anyway. And because the whole process didn't work in his favor, now he wants to call it corrupt. But if he was nominated everywhere and nominated for 10 awards, he would gladly accept the nomination, attend the ceremony, accept his awards. And to me, it's hypocritical. If you think that something is corrupt, why enable that corruption by being a part of the circus? Why not take a stand against it before even, nominating your work or submitting it? I think that it says a lot about your character when you're unwilling to call something out when you see it, but you're complicit in the corruption just as long as it benefits you. And I think that with him continuing to rant about it, it shows that he really does care about the Grammys. And to me, it's embarrassing. Your work speaks for itself. An award doesn't validate your work. The people listening to it, the reason why it's still in the top 10 on Billboard, that's validation enough.
I mean, that's another off my chest right there. He just read The Weeknd. The stands will come for you. And
Let them come.
You know what? I'm going to be a good friend and a good co-host, and I'll defend you in the comments again. I got your back. Just so you know, I got your back.
Dante, what's the next story that we wanted to talk about?
As some of y'all may know, by the time you listen to this, you probably woke up and you had an extra $1,400 in your bank account. You might have got that stimmy.
Stimmies.
Yeah, stimmies for everyone. So the historic American Rescue Plan, $1.9 trillion, was signed into law by Joe Biden last week. And some people, as early as the weekend that just passed, started receiving their payments, and some people, by the time you listen to this, might have received your payments. It's not just about getting direct payments to the people. It's about funding on a national and state level, being able to provide vaccines and testing for this virus, shoring up infrastructure. I mean, it does a lot. We don't have time, unfortunately, to go step by step on how the money is allocated. But I mean, $1.9 trillion, that's a hefty price tag. So, if you're one of the people that received this payments, let us know how you're going to spend it, or how it's, affecting you. I'd love to hear it. Would love to highlight some of that on the next episode. What are your thoughts, Justin?
It's a big deal. I think that it was a hard bill to get passed because there's so much opposition in the House and in the Senate. But ultimately, relief was passed. Relief is on the way. $1,400 isn't just a dollar. It's going to be significant to a lot of people. So for the people getting it, obviously, you know what to do with it. So I'm glad that y'all are getting relief.
I saw a video of a Republican senator who voted against the American Rescue Plan, taking credit for it passing, said, I was offering amendments to make sure that there was money in there to reopen schools. Well, you voted against it, though. So don't take credit for something if you ultimately voted against it. That's my beef with it. And then also, just so you guys know how I'm going to spend this stimmy, I think I'm going to buy a couple Starbucks chains, and then with the leftover money, continue to grow my LLC so I can leave my kids, all this wealth. I might go buy the Mona Lisa as well. I don't know. I'm thinking about it,
Who knows?
Big boy shit, Who knows? That's how we get down at Rock Nation Twitter.
Yes, LLC Twitter. Not to make fun of anybody doing that. Obviously, people know how to spend their stimulus, so however you want to spend it, go spend it. I'm not in the business of trying to tell people how they should spend their money. Congrats that people are getting their $1,400, and hopefully more is on the way as we continue to increase vaccinations and get back to a sense of normalcy. But speaking of politics, there are more calls for Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign. If you guys haven't been following the news, the governor has been accused of sexual misconduct by multiple people. I think 6 women at this point have come out and alleged he was being inappropriate with them.
There is a growing chorus of politicians calling for Cuomo to step down, including New York's leading Democrats.
The governor should resign because he has lost the faith of his governing partners.
But President Joe Biden wants to wait.
I think the investigation is underway and we should see what it brings us.
Cuomo insists he did nothing wrong.
I'm going to avoid distractions and I'm going to focus on my job.
And now we're seeing more Democratic senators and government officials saying that he needs to step down and he needs to retire, or not retire, he needs to resign. And this is interesting. Dante, what do you think about this? Do you think it's right to call him to resign? Should he resign? Should we believe all survivors?
Wow, I mean, damn. Like, you just hit me with a brick. That's a lot of questions you just asked right there. I mean, Cuomo's political future is done. I think that in the court of law, just like in the court of public opinion, everybody is due their day, right? The truth will be found out and both sides should be able to present their case. I'm also a believer that where there is smoke, there is fire. You know, he has 6 women at this point accusing him of wrongdoings and sexual misconduct. So there has to be some credible evidence here, in my opinion. And I think that if there was not credible evidence, you wouldn't have the 2 senators from New York calling on him to resign too, because why would they put their neck out there like that if, you know, if he did nothing wrong? And the other thing about it is, like, if you read some of the comments and the stories behind this, it's real weird the way that he tried to, like, get women in private talking about, hey, come help me with my phone. Like, what about a woman in her 20s? I doubt that an old guy asking her to help him with his phone turns them on. You know what I mean? Like, right. People are in our age group. We get annoyed when old people ask us about help with technology. So I don't know. That wasn't the smoothest move there. And he calls himself the Love Gov. So not the smoothest move there, Love Gov.
Do you align with the idea that we should believe all women?
I mean, nothing's black and white. Like, by saying we should believe all women, what about the woman who said Emmett Till tried to accost her? And then she recanted on her deathbed, and that young man lost his life over it. Right? I think every accusation against somebody should be taken seriously and should be investigated.
So you're not with the believe all survivors?
See, I don't like how you're trying to put me in a corner here. What I'm saying is, if somebody says, hey, this happened, it should be investigated and the facts should be borne out. But if you just say, hey, this happened to me, and everybody's automatically like, oh, it happened, it's over, quit your job, fire Andrew Cuomo. I mean, I'm just, because we're talking about him as he's the example I'm using, but it could be you, right? You'd be like, hey, Justin touched my butt. I didn't want him to touch my butt. Fire him. Get rid of him. If it happened, it happened, and that should be found out. But if it didn't, you deserve to be exonerated. So I don't think it's something where you need to dismiss people who are accusing others of wrongdoing, because that's not right. You don't need to dismiss anybody because they felt like they were wrong. But investigation should happen.
Well, I'm of the belief that we should support all survivors, and we should create an atmosphere where they feel comfortable coming forward with their stories of abuse, because we know our current climate kind of makes women feel shamed for being victims of sexual assault. So I think that we need to change the culture around that and allow them to have an environment where they feel comfortable, you know, coming forward. And ultimately, hopefully, the justice system is complicit in bringing about justice, because oftentimes we don't see justice with sexual assault or sexual harassment or situations like that. So I'm with supporting all survivors. But bottom line, do you think that Andrew Cuomo should resign?
I agree with what you just said. That's not what I was saying. I think that people who have had something done to them or feel like they've had something done to them should have a safe space to say that and get that out there. But the way that I interpreted what you asked me is like, hey, if somebody says this about you, automatically you have to face consequences before the facts bear out. I'm not in support of that. I'm in support of anybody being able to speak up in a safe manner. Of course, if you feel wronged, you should be able to speak on it. But you're talking about dishing out the penalties before somebody who is accused of something has the chance to rebut. That I'm not in support of.
Simply what I'm asking is, given what we know with what's come out, do you think that he should resign? Yes or no?
Yeah, he should resign. At the very least, regardless of if these things are true or not, at the very least, he's becoming a distraction and it's not serving the people of New York in any positive capacity, in my opinion. So yeah, he should resign.
Interesting. I think that we should just hold him accountable the same way we would hold a Republican accountable. I don't think that we should pick favorites. I don't think that we should try and sugarcoat his image just because he's a Democrat. Hold his feet to the fire.
Hold on. You gotta let me get back in here then. If you're saying hold him accountable like we hold a Republican accountable, then he should be able to run for office again. His approval rate shouldn't
see the
dip.
hypocrisy, guys?
Oh, and it's not my hypocrisy though.
I know it's not, but I'm just saying, see the way it works.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you don't, I mean, as far as I know, you don't got Cuomo on the mic saying, grab him by the pussy and take him like a bitch. And when you're famous, they let you do whatever you want. You don't have him saying that.
Right.
So I'm saying, I agree with you. Anybody, regardless of party, denomination, whatever, should be held accountable the same way. But we know that's not what happens here. When somebody on the side of the left or a Democrat gets accused of something, you know, we decide to hold them accountable. Look at Senator Al Franken in, what was it, 2017, 2018-ish? But on the Republican side, they rally around that person and say, hey, you're trying to cancel them. You got to be despicable, unredeemable for them. They still supported Roy Moore in Alabama, 30 years older than these 16-year-old girls he's fucking trying to get with.
You don't even have to name senators or House members. Just look at the president. You know, if you're willing to defend a president like that, the bar is so low at this point that it's not a surprise if you bring up anything else or any other allegations by people that aren't Trump. So the hypocrisy continues to look itself in the mirror, and I just laugh.
Sometimes we laugh so we don't cry because it ain't fucking funny.
Yeah, at this point, it's not. I guess we're done with this conversation. My ending point for this is just hold everybody to the same standard that we hold the other side. Don't pick favorites, and if he's guilty, resign. You know, that's all there is to it. I have nothing more to say.
Well, I want to continue this conversation because now I have a question. What if, right, on the slight chance, and I know it's a very marginal chance, but what if he isn't guilty of any of this and he doesn't resign? And the facts get borne out that and I'm just speaking hypothetically here, hypothetically speaking for everybody who used to listen to the old one, and he's not guilty of anything. And he could take a victory lap and be like, I told you. You came for me so hard and so fast, but I told you. What happens then? Like, where do you stand with that?
I think a lot of people will have egg on their face because I think that sometimes there's a mob mentality when it comes to issues like this. Before the facts fully come out, people have already taken a position without looking at all the evidence. And I think that's scary because nobody wants to live in a society like that. We have facts and we have fiction. And if you look at all the facts and it's pointing towards guilt, then if you feel comfortable calling for his resignation, then call for his resignation. But if you're one of those people that hear some things and call for his resignation without looking at the facts, that's not fair. We have to be fair to both parties. But like I said before, I'm one that likes to support all survivors and all victims. Give them the space to feel comfortable coming out and give them all the support that they need. Bear all the facts out, listen to it, and if it's leaning towards guilt on Andrew Cuomo's part, then he needs to resign and they need to move swiftly with that because there's more important things to focus on as well, and this is kind of overshadowing the stuff that needs to get done. If he's guilty, he needs to stop wasting everybody's time, resign so we can move on to other stories. That's what I have to say about this. A lot of people will have egg on their face, so that's why I'm continuing to say, you know, support the survivors and let the facts bear out before we start calling for people to resign.
Okay, so what if a survivor / accuser made it up, like how we just talked about the Emmett Till thing? What happens then? Does that discredit all the people who are doing this out of the bravery in their heart to speak up about their experience, that something did happen to them, but they had somebody in a high profile case lie about it? You know, do you think that's why some people have problems speaking up and wanting to get their story out there?
Yeah, because oftentimes it's easy to gaslight somebody and call them a liar whenever they're telling the truth. And a lot of times people like to believe the sensationalized stories of somebody lying when they're telling the truth. I think that's a big reason why a lot of women fear coming out, because they don't want to be labeled in a certain way. Well, what was she wearing? Oh, she was asking for it. Oh, she should have known better, without holding the men that's abusing her accountable. And that's not fair. And I do think that that's a reason why a lot of people don't come out. But to say that if if one woman is lying that discredits all women that, want to come forward. No, that's not fair. I think that the woman that's lying represents only herself. That's like a black person making a mistake. Does this discredit all people that come forward with allegations? It doesn't. Whenever Jussie Smollett had that scandal where he apparently or allegedly lied about being kidnapped by Trump supporters, does him lying and doing a false report paint anybody else that gets kidnapped or abused in some way? Does that make them want to discredit them or not believe them when they come forward? No, it's an isolated incident and it should be treated that way. No one person speaks on the behalf of one community or represents an entire community. You represent yourself. If you're lying about a situation, then you should be held accountable for that and you should face consequences. But to say that if somebody lies, they should be discredited and they're making it harder on people that want to come forward later, I don't think that's fair.
Oh, this is beautiful. Because this ties into 2 episodes ago. Okay, so I want you and the listeners to understand that I agree with everything Justin's saying, but the sad reality of it is that it's not always like that. So somebody could have a bad experience with a black person, how we talked about on the episode Black Like Me. If you haven't listened to it yet, you should probably go check it out. Really good episode. If I fail at something in my professional space, probably gonna make it 2 times harder for the next black person to get into the same place that I'm at. And it shouldn't be that way because I don't represent all black people. Like, we're not a monolith, right? I only represent Dante. Don't represent the black race on my back, even though sometimes it feels like I do, or other people might see it as I am doing that. It's not cool. And I think it's the same thing with these accusers, right? Every time a false accusation happens, it's setting back the progress and the openness in which people who really have been abused can speak up and speak out. And that's the tragedy of it all. I don't know. I think that in the back of people's mind, that could be the case, but ultimately I don't think it should be viewed that way because everybody represents themselves. One woman does not represent all false allegations. So, I don't think that's the way it should be. But you're thinking like a rational person. You're thinking like a rational person. Like, I agree with you. I want you to know that I agree with you, but that's not how everybody sees it. That's not how everybody sees it. There are going to be people out there like, oh, that lady lied about that, man. I can't believe the next person because they all lie. Just like, trade the word woman with the word black. Can't trust them because one of them robbed me in 1977. So I don't like any of them. One woman lied on this guy. Can't trust them. You know what I mean? Like, it's the sad reality is that's how, a big portion of this world views it all.
And it's unfortunate. My hope is that these people that are accusing Governor Cuomo are telling the truth because it'll make this whole situation a lot easier. Justice can be hard for a lot of people, especially in situations dealing with sexual abuse and harassment. So my hope is that they are telling the truth. And I'm like Dante, when there's smoke, there's fire. And unfortunately, sometimes when there's smoke, there's nothing there to be seen in some situations. But I don't know, that might not be the case with this situation. But support all victims and survivors. That'll be my tagline for this story. Give them the support so that they feel comfortable coming forward. Because some people might say, well, why are they just doing this now? I've never been abused. I've never been sexually harassed. So I can't speak on somebody's decision to remain silent for a period of time. I think that if you've been abused, only you understand, your comfort level when it comes to coming forward. So I'll never be on the side of, oh, she should have came out sooner. They're only doing this to tarnish his reputation. I think sometimes maybe the thought or the rational view of it is when one person comes out, it's like, wow, she's so brave. It makes me want to tell my story. So it's a chain reaction. And it's unfortunate that there's a chain to even begin with because one issue of abuse should be enough. But for a lot of men out there that are abusers, it's not enough. They want to abuse as many people as possible because they think that they can get away with it. But if Andrew Cuomo is guilty, the hope is that he's held accountable for his actions, he resigns, and we move on.
I agree with everything Justin just said there. You know how you just said where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Play the elevator music. I got a story to tell you real quick.
Okay.
All right, we're back. So, you know, that we already got some very heavy stuff here, and we haven't even talked about race yet, guys. Like, what's going on here? I mean, we did a little bit, but now we're really getting into it. So if you don't like the blackety black portion of the show, you know, there'll be timestamps provided for you, I guess.
Oh my God,
where do
this
we
guy's
start?
something else.
In other black news, there was a professor at Georgetown Law caught on camera complaining about how her black students are always the low performers.
Listen to the offensive remarks about black students that got Georgetown law professor Sandra Sellers fired.
And you know what? I hate to say this. I end up having this, angst every semester that a lot of my lower ones are blacks. Happens almost every semester.
The video call was between Sellers, who has taught at the school for nearly 20 years, and Professor David Batson, another Georgetown law professor. Part of the recording was posted online.
The black student body there who attends the law university there, wrote this whole memo and had demands that she needed to be terminated immediately. But before we focus just on that story, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was a high school women's basketball game, and the team of predominantly black players decided to kneel during the national anthem. And one of the announcers, who used to be a youth pastor, called them, in his words, f***ing niggers. And in both of these instances, right, the white person who they're having this conversation with didn't stand up and say that they were wrong. They were complicit in the message because they'd rather go along with it than make an uncomfortable situation and stand up for what's right. And you're just as wrong as a person committing the offense, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Floor now, Justin.
I agree with that. I think that's what I always talk about with holding your relatives accountable as well. It's not enough to not be a racist yourself. If you're seeing, blatant racism in your face and you're choosing to not say anything about it, you're not an ally. No matter how many black squares you post, no matter how many black people you take a picture with, you're not an ally. An ally is somebody that speaks up when it might be uncomfortable. An ally is somebody that calls somebody out when it's justified. And in these situations, it was sad that the people were complicit with what they were hearing. And I think you got to speak up, especially in this day and age. You got to speak up, even when it's uncomfortable. And I think as somebody who's not black, the burden is bigger. I really do think that. And it's unfortunate that when these people heard this, they just nodded their head, they didn't say anything, and they acted like it was normal. You cannot normalize behavior like this. You can't. You can't. If you are an ally, if you stand for equal justice, you have to speak up. What you do in public is one thing, but I think equally, if not more, what you do in private is more important because that's what we don't see. There's no facade there to hide behind. You're living your truth, and if you are an ally, you're an ally in public and you're an ally in private.
Listen, I don't think you should normalize it and you shouldn't embolden it. Just an update, that lady, that professor did lose her job over that, and that announcer did lose his job as well.
I don't know. I think I want to talk about Stacey Dash now. If you guys don't know who Stacey Dash is, she is an actress. You might have seen the movie Clueless. She was the black character that was best friends with the white protagonist that wore the yellow plaid outfit. I guess that's her claim to fame, but she became a Fox News commentator and she began, bashing the black community at every turn. And people would call her a coon, say she's anti-black, that she's doing whatever it takes to throw her community under the bus just to advance herself. So within the black community, they canceled her. They said that she's not one of us. And Stacey Dash, she is half Mexican and half black. So, with her being mixed race, a lot of people say it's shameful for you to turn your back on the community and accept a check and bash black people in the process.
Either we want to have segregation or integration. And if we don't want segregation, then we need to get rid of channels like BET and the BET Awards and the Image Awards, where you're only awarded if you're black. If it were the other way around, we would be up in arms. It's a double standard. Just like there shouldn't be a Black History Month. We're Americans, period. That's it.
So yeah, that's, the stance that she had. But recently, a couple days ago, she came forward and did an interview with Daily Mail. And she said, "That's not who I am anymore. She apologized for her offensive comments, and she turned on Donald Trump. She quit politics, and she blames the network, which is Fox News, for typecasting her as the angry black woman. So in a way, she's kind of like trying to come back to the black community. She's apologizing for her past behavior, and she's wanting to turn a new leaf. So Dante, what do you think about this whole situation with Stacey Dash?
Stacey Dash is irrelevant. We're more relevant than Stacey Dash. Here's the thing. I mean it. Like you said before, we're criminally underrated. A shameless plug of our show, but I don't care. You're listening. Is she coming back and saying all these things because the money dried up? Because now there's not a lane for her at Fox News? Is this genuine or is this disingenuous? You know, she had no problem going out there cooning on Fox News when they were cutting the check. So, I mean, listen, I don't care about Stacey Dash, but those are just my feelings on it. And I'll let you take it wherever you want to take it. But those are my thoughts.
But don't you think that people can grow and change?
Of course people can grow and change, Justin. I think that growth and change are what builds character. But do you expect us to believe that every person who jumps off of the losing team has truly changed, or they just want to be on the side of what is perceived as right?
That's not for me to judge. If you have the stance that people can change and people can grow, who's to say that she hasn't grown and changed?
So she grew into it and then she grew out of it again, is what we're saying in this in regards to Stacey Dash, right?
If you're acknowledging the part that you played to call out the black community in a negative light, and now it seems like she's taking steps forward to acknowledge her wrongdoing and want to do better, who's to say that that's not the case? If you're somebody that says people can grow and change, why not believe that she's grown and changed or making the steps to, do that change?
Because I think once you sell out for money, it becomes different. I don't think you get the benefit of the doubt anymore. Once you sell out for money and you say things contradict what you may truly believe in your heart, or you're just chasing the bag. Once you sell out for money, it's a little different. And I don't think that you don't get, like I said, you don't get the benefit of doubt, and you don't get treated as genuine up front. You always say, hold people accountable. And what are you doing to work towards righting your wrongs, right? So yeah, she could do some interview and say all the right things, but what's the follow-up work? Let's see it. You can't just come back with open arms. We got to see it, right? You got to keep proving it.
That's the opposite of what you said with Morgan Wallen, because I was the one that was saying, what has Morgan Wallen done to change? And now you're saying the opposite of that.
That's not the opposite of what I said. The debate that we had was about if he is painted as something for the rest of his life on the one time that we know that he said something. Now, me and you, as reasonable people here, and like we said last week on our episode, we both know the first time you get caught saying something, it probably isn't the first time you ever said it. We were saying that in reference to Creighton basketball and their coach saying, stay on the plantation, right? But you did say in that episode, what has he done besides issue an apology? And I agreed with you. I said, there needs to be more work. There needs to be more before you're out of the woods and you're in the clear. And we could say, okay, we see that you've put in the work to be redeemed. So he can do whatever video he did, apologize and have his sister out there saying he's the nicest, sweetest person I ever met. That's great. But what has he done since then?
Is she a coon forever because she decided to work for Fox News and said bad things about the black community? If she's making the steps to apologize for that and move forward, can she change from who she used to be?
For me, this ain't about black and white with her. It's about selling out. It's about cashing in for the bag. Now, in my eyes, you're viewed as somebody who you will go where the money is, regardless of what the opinion that you have to state is. That's what it is about Stacey Dash. When you said give her the space to grow and prove, you weren't saying that about Morgan Wallen, and you just brought him up. So what are you? Are they being held to two different standards?
I think you need to go back and listen to that episode, because I did. I said that I'm not going to welcome him with open arms like a lot of people do if he has not shown the work to do that. I was saying in that episode that one simple apology is not enough for me. I'm not going to do a seminar and talk to you about, you should not use the N-word. You should know better. You should know better. And if you're truly sorry, you're going to do more than apologize to show, contrition. That was my opinion.
Yeah. And we agreed then. So anyway, my issue with her is not about what we call cooning. It's about the sellout part of it. And that's just my opinion.
All right.
in other blackity black news, there is a elementary school in Utah that was allowing parents to opt out of Black History Month as a part of the curriculum. As of now, that decision has been overturned and they're keeping Black History as a part of their mandatory curriculum. How do you feel about this? I'll let you go first.
I think that they made the right choice because that's a slippery slope in a way. If you're allowing parents to opt their kids out of Black history, who's to say you can't opt them out of, learning about the American Revolution or, civil rights or whatever? Like, that's a slippery slope. That defeats the purpose of public schooling if you're going to pick and choose what your kid is learning. If you want your kids to learn what everybody else is learning, stick them in public school and they learn whatever they learn. If you don't think that's the case, put them in private school, put them in a charter school, homeschool them. But if they're going to be educated in public school, whatever the teacher and the curriculum is, that should be what they're learning. I don't think that parents should be out there saying, I don't want my kid to learn about this, because that's weird. And the thing is, why are you opting out of Black history? What is it about Black history that you don't want them to learn? Do you not want them to learn the truth? I have a lot of questions because I think that a lot of people find the truth uncomfortable. I think when we have that ally episode, I really want to get into this idea with white people about feeling guilt about the history of white people and what they've done to others in this country and throughout the history of this world. Is there a sense of guilt that they are trying to escape from? Is that the reason why a lot of people feel uncomfortable with talking about social issues as it pertains to civil rights and Black history? I think that's a question that's worth asking, and I really want an answer to that because I don't think that people are ready for that conversation.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to write that down in the notes so we can revisit that. I'll keep it short and sweet about it. If they can opt out of their kids learning Black History Month, are we just going to make school a la carte and you could choose the subjects your kids learn? Like, hey, you really don't need biology or geometry or English because you already speak it. So what do you need to learn about it? It just makes no sense. And we honestly shouldn't have to. No, I'm not even going to go there.
No, go there.
In a perfect world, right? If everybody had common sense, there shouldn't have to be a Black History Month where we just focus on the accomplishments of Black people in this country, regardless if you're showing they focus on the same 4 or 5 people every time. But Black history is American history because we are Americans. Right? So you should teach the history of Black people in this country throughout the year. You shouldn't just put these little kids in a room and tell them, hey, slavery happened. Lincoln came, freed everybody. There was a little bit of racism. Martin Luther King had a dream and marched. And now we're all in this great post-racial society. No, like you just said, right? You got to teach people the truth. Sound like play the Will Smith clip. Tell the truth. You know what I mean? You got to tell people the truth. You should tell these people about Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You should tell them about the duly elected government that was overthrown by a violent coup in Wilmington, North Carolina. The only coup that has ever happened in the history of the United States of America. You should tell them about the brutality of slavery. And also you should tell them about the great accomplishments of Black people. And it shouldn't be confined to February every year. And that's my thoughts on that.
No, I agree with you. Prayer cloth moment. Get your prayer cloth out. I was waiting for us to break these out, Dante. The moment has came. I agree with everything you said. You got to teach the truth. And the truth is uncomfortable. And I think that it's not a lie. I embrace that. I understand that history can be uncomfortable for a lot of people. But I think sometimes in order to move forward, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to have the important conversations. And most importantly, we have to acknowledge the past so that we can build a better future. That's the way I see it. History has always been my favorite subject because it's always relevant. I've said it before, the past is relevant, it informs our present, and it builds us for the future. You have to be aware of the things that came before so you don't repeat those same mistakes. Public schooling has a lot of flaws, but at the same time, I feel like we need to reform it to teach the truth. In Texas especially, we know that we learn a warped version of history, and I think that it's unfortunate because there's some people that all they go through is high school education, and whatever they learn is what they believe. But it's sad because it's not the full truth. In college, a lot of people learn the truth, and that's how they're informed. We're doing ourselves a disservice whenever we're running from the truth and not educating our people. If it's acceptable for people to have just a high school education, equip them with the best form of a high school education. Give them the foundation to base their decisions off of that will benefit them, not harm them because they're learning half-truths or even lies in some points. But that's all I'll say to that. Education should not be a la carte, especially if you're educating your child in a public setting. They're there to learn, so allow these kids to learn.
Agree with you 100%, man. I apologize for raising my voice at y'all on that one. I just got a little passionate about that. Last thing I guess we'll touch on in black news. I mean, it's not black news, it's world news, but the city of Minneapolis and the family of George Floyd agreed on a $27 million settlement. Thoughts on that?
It's a lot of money. Obviously, we know that no amount of money equates the life of somebody that was lost unjustly. I do hope that that money can at least help the family out. I guess it's comforting to know that his daughter is going to be able to live comfortably. And I don't know, a lot of people online were saying that the police department should pay for that. It should come out of the pensions of police officers. I don't know, money is obviously not justice, but it helps. You know, it's funny because I think his trial either started or it's about to start. So a lot of people are nervous about what the outcome is going to be. They got something because it's better than nothing, and ultimately nothing will ever replace the life of George Floyd.
Yeah, I think, you know, when things like this happen, obviously, if a wrong is committed, there should be some sort of restitution dealt out to the people who were victims. I think it's weird to put dollar amounts on someone's life. You know what I mean? Like that's uncomfortable. So like I could never tell you, hey, this is what I think the amount that a family should get if their, you know, one of their loved ones was killed by police or by an animal at the zoo, whatever the situation may be, because it's kind of weird to me, at least, to put a dollar amount in correlation with a human life. I mean, they outlawed that in 1865, as far as I'm concerned. Just saying. A little history note for y'all. Slavery isn't legal anymore, guys. Just saying.
Right.
In other news, there is an NBA player. He's a bench warmer, nobody of any importance, but his name is Meyers Leonard, because we got to say these people's names to hold him accountable, who was on a live stream. He was playing a video game, and he was getting his ass busted in the game, I guess, and he said a racial slur, a Jewish racial slur, on his live stream, and it's not, you know, going over well as it shouldn't. He's been suspended by the NBA, suspended from team activities. He's lost sponsorships from his live streaming, and a famous Jewish athlete, a wide receiver for the Patriots, Julian Edelman, responded to him and, you know, invited him to come learn and spend some time with him. What do you think about that, Justin? And what do you think about what Julian Edelman did? I guess is what I want to know about more, because I mean, we all know, like, yeah, Meyers Leonard, like, yeah, you said a racial slur, man, it's not right. What do you think about Julian Edelman reaching out to him?
Personally, for me, I don't even know slurs to insult other people. So the fact that these people know all these slurs to hurt people is weird to me. I don't even know any. I don't know Hispanic slurs. I don't know Asian slurs. Actually, I know one. But this is not something that crosses my mind. So it's just weird that when people get mad, they say these things. And if they have the ability to think and conjure up all these words, that means that they've probably said it before. I don't know. It feels like we cover something like this every single week, whether it's the N-word, whether it's somebody using a racial slur against Jewish people. It's always something. It's interesting that he's getting support from Julian Edelman, because I feel like it might be important for me to read what Julian Edelman said. So in an open letter to Meyers Leonard, Julian Edelman, who is an NFL football player, says, "So we've never met. I hope we can one day soon. I'm sure you've been getting lots of criticism for what you just said. Not trying to add to that, I just want to offer some perspective. I get the sense that you didn't use that word out of hate, more out of ignorance. Most likely you weren't trying to hurt anyone or even profile Jews in your comment. That's what makes it so destructive. When someone intends to be hateful, it's usually met with great resistance. Casual ignorance is harder to combat and has greater reach, especially when you command great influence. Hate is like a virus. Even accidentally, it can rapidly spread. I'm down in Miami fairly often. Let's do a Shabbat dinner with some friends. I'll show you a fun time. Julian Edelman." Okay. I think it's interesting that Julian Edelman is providing him the space to, educate him and work with him to understand what he did. It couldn't be me, though, because I feel like more so with the Black community and use of the N-word, people know better. But I'm not going to be one to sit you down and say, hey, let's kick it and I'll show you a good time. Maybe if we had a Jewish perspective on the show, they could better, have an opinion on this, but I can't speak for them or how they should or would react. So that's my stance on it. It couldn't be me, but good on Julian Edelman to, I guess, take the high road and instead of adding to the hate, want to educate this dude. That's just my take on it.
That's interesting that you say that, because, actually, no. It's not interesting in the way that I thought it was, because you always have held the same opinion. You've been pretty firm in it that you got to do it. You got to do the work yourself, so I couldn't imagine Justin reaching out to somebody and be like, hey, man, or, reaching out to that basketball announcer like, hey, I heard you call those girls the F and N word, but, we could talk about it and, maybe we can go to a soul food restaurant. You get some sweet tea.
Dead body. Under my dead body. You will never catch me in a situation like that. Maybe you can catch Dante, but not me.
I don't appreciate the shade there because I definitely ain't the one. I definitely ain't the one for that. Listen, I'll give y'all some good advice, and y'all can even steal this line if y'all want to. Try Jesus, don't try me, because I throw hands. That's what it is.
Oh my God. We have 2 stories that we can get through. We have plenty of time. So, Dante, are you familiar with Salt Bae?
I've seen the videos.
Okay, so if you guys don't know who Salt Bae is, he's that guy. I don't know if he has always owned a restaurant, but it was a meme where he would like sprinkle some salt and bend his wrist, and it blew up on social media a couple years ago. So apparently he has a restaurant, and a lot of celebrities frequent this restaurant. So certain times he'll come out and see a famous guest, and he'll come, chop their steak into pieces, and then using his long knife, he'll like feed it to them. And a lot of people have opinions on this. Somebody sent me a tweet and it says, homophobia runs so deep that y'all are scared to let a professional chef feed you some luxurious steak from a knife. And so it ignited a conversation about if that's weird or not, that you're being fed steak from another man. So Dante, what do you think about this situation?
Yeah, why do people always gotta just like pick at stuff, man? Like, that's my biggest thing on here. Like when we had that episode about like, can you criticize people and stuff? Like, you are allowed to like what you like. Like if you're a man and you don't want another man sliding meat down your mouth. Yeah, I said it that way on purpose. You don't want a man sliding meat down your mouth. Then you don't gotta like a man sliding meat down your mouth. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, would you let a man give you a massage if you were going to a massage place, or would you request a woman? I don't know. There's a lot of deep stuff. I feel like, hey, I'm comfortable enough in my sexuality. If I prefer not to have a man throw meat at my mouth, then that's what I prefer. And don't got shit to do with being homophobic. Because I'm very comfortable in my sexuality. I know who I am and what I like. Don't say nothing about me. And I'm definitely not homophobic. I'm not like, ew, gay people. Like, that's weird. That's super weird to me.
Why is it automatically a sexual thing, though?
You said that. I didn't make it sexual. That's not how I view it.
You said that you think it's weird. What about it is weird?
No, I said it's weird when people are like that. People that are homophobic were like, ew, gay people can't be around gay people. I'll catch the gay. That's weird. That's where I think you got some issues and you're running from something.
We've seen celebrities like football players, like Amari Cooper was at a restaurant, I think Salt Bae's restaurant. And when Salt Bae finished chopping up the steak, using his long knife, he like poked at the steak and like gave it to Amari Cooper to eat. And then Amari Cooper was like, no. And like was pointing for Salt Bae to give it to his other friend. If you were in Amari Cooper's shoes, would you feel uncomfortable accepting steak from Salt Bae?
I personally, so I'm a very slow eater. Like people that go out to eat with me, they make fun of me because of how slow an eater I am. So I like to eat on my time in the way that I like to eat. So you can place my steak in front of me and I will eat it myself. I don't care about the show or the extravagance of it all. I don't need somebody throwing fucking food at me. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. Don't throw no goddamn food at me. That's how I feel about it.
So, I mean, you can just bite it and then take it off and then just put it on your plate and eat at your own pace. Would you feel uncomfortable with that?
So you're saying he's holding steak on a knife.
On a long knife.
In my face.
Mm-hmm.
Saying to bite it off.
I mean,
nah, man, we don't play with knives where I come from. That's one of the first things you teach your kids. You teach them what hot is, and you teach them not to play with knives. Put it down on the plate. I will eat it on my own time. I don't need to bite it off of nobody's knife, man or woman. This ain't about it being a man. I don't want to bite off of nobody's goddamn knife. Put it down. I will eat my steak the way I want it to. Especially all the money you got to pay to even get into that man's restaurant. Yeah, I'm going to eat this food however the fuck I want to eat it. Because I spent my coins on it.
I didn't know it was that deep. Well, with that, I guess the last silly thing that we have left is Selena Gomez talking about how she's gonna maybe retire from music and give it one last chance. I say, let me be nice. This is supposed to be a positive space. So I guess if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So that's my stance on it. We know that Dante has a complicated relationship with Selena Gomez. They're resolving their issues as we speak. But when you heard this news...
It ain't complicated at all, man. It ain't complicated at all. Listen, if she's retiring from music, just look at God. That's all I gotta say. This year is already turning out better. We're getting shots in arms. You got some stimmy, so there's some money in your pocket. Selena Gomez gonna stop making music. Like, it's all coming up W's, baby. It's all coming up W's. Positive vibes everywhere.
I don't know. Do you, Selena? If you don't want to make music anymore, your fans might be sad and other people might be happy. I'm not saying what group I'm a part of. I'm just giving you the truth because that's what we like to do on this show. I think, that's it for this episode. I feel like we went through the stories that we wanted to talk about, but I appreciate you guys. I say it all the time. Without y'all, we have nothing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling a friend to tell a friend. I forgot to mention this earlier, but we have an anonymous thing where y'all can send us questions. So if you want to ask a question for the show, if there's a topic that you want us to explore on an episode, if you just want to say hi or ask us something random, feel free to do that. That is the space for y'all to tell us anything. I don't think there's a character limit, so if you have a long story to type out, you can do that too. It's interesting reading all of the submissions, so one day in a couple weeks, we will do a Q&A and we will answer all of your questions. So don't feel like we're reading your questions and we're not going to answer it. We will answer it. But subscribe. Dante will say this in his closing argument, but I appreciate you guys. Make sure you're subscribed to the show. Like Dante said, tell your pop-hows, your mau-maus, me-maws, he-haws, ya-yaws, da-daws. Tell them all to listen to the show as well. This podcast is not for everybody, but it's for anybody. If you like podcasts where people are open and honest and they talk about interesting topics and we don't shy away from stuff like that, feel free to continue listening and most importantly, tell other people to enjoy the show as well. So that's what I have to say on this episode. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for listening.
Go tell your friends about it, about it. Doing that weekend for Justin, but nah, we are polar opposites. Thank you for listening. As always, please like, share, subscribe, download the episode, listen to the episode, rate the episode, then undownload it, unsubscribe, resubscribe, download again, listen to it again, tell your friends to tell their friends about it. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate this community that we've cultivated here. Like Justin said, we are nothing without you guys. We appreciate you every single step of the way. Ask us an anonymous question or write it to us. Put your name behind it. Say it with your chest because we're going to be doing a Q&A episode coming up pretty soon here. We are Polar Opposites. Thank you for listening to us. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Bye, guys.